I do think of dealing with Guardians of the Galaxy as being on untrammeled snow. And the first thing that excited me about Guardians, before any story elements or anything else, was actually creating the visual look. And the very first thing I did was I sat down and wrote a 19-page document that was called The Look of Guardians of the Galaxy. And it really was about creating a space opera that brought color back to these types of movies. There were a lot of things in that document that I adhered to, having a sort of postmodern aesthetic in terms of having a lot of contrast throughout the films, something very beautiful next to something very ugly. Morag is one of the places we see this most clearly. We have this very dour, ugly landscape and these beautiful skies. Although they're storm-filled skies, they're beautiful.
Morag is this planet that was completely flooded and it's drained away, but that was still a very light, sandy environment, so it's quite a neutral color palette. And then you go into this secret vault, and suddenly you're into this vivid gold, green, and blue jewel-like world, so the color kicks off quite quickly.
It's like living in an amazing life-size fish tank, but with no water. A little inside tip from movie making. You never want to submerge everything in water, especially the crew and the actors.
Morag sets up a lot of the look of the movie in terms of having technology that's mixed with something very ancient. So they have a very ancient temple that's obviously very old, but around that, it's a pretty forward, progressive society that we see when Quill uses his map gun. And so it was really setting up all those different tones in that one scene. And likewise, I think tonally, Morag sets up a lot of what is to come in the movie, because we have this seemingly very serious, dour situation that this guy who could be a human, could be a robot, we're not even sure what he is at first, finds himself in, and then very quickly we're, you know, attached back to Earth through the music playing. The contrast of the 1970s pop song playing while he's dancing through this very dark, evil-looking temple.
Having the music on standby and understanding what's going to be playing is really helpful because it takes the pressure off. A movie like this is so much more than just acting. I mean, every set is a giant set. All the costumes of the aliens, of the extras, all of the music, the score, the visual effects. It's like this world is created. So when you hear the music and you get a sense of what's going to be playing at the time, you think, oh, the pressure's off. I can just be myself and be present in this moment, and it'll work.
Okay, that's good. Right up there. I think we got it, yeah.
Although, if I have to hear the Pina Colada song one more time, I'm gonna lose it. Xandar is this sort of utopian society. Everyone's really smart and thoughtful and progressive, and it's futuristic, but not like lame futuristic where they're all wearing like shiny tinfoil outfits. There's a lot of different alien races. There's like people who are completely pink and yellow and blue. If you'd have been in my shoes and walked in on the first day that I was here and saw all the concept artwork on the walls, mind-blowing.
Being in outer space, that's a serious situation. James's ideas are pretty funky and out there, but he wanted everything to look grounded. We had to be really careful we weren't putting antennae on heads and things like that, so it's too silly. It has to look believable.
I think that people do sense the fact that the world building goes pretty deep. We discussed a lot about the different cultures, where they came from, who they are, what's important to them. We don't really mention Krylorians much in the movie. They're the pink people. But we have a lot of things in documents about who the Krylorians are and where they came from and what's important to them. And that was important in creating them on screen. And I think when you get to that type of specificity throughout the film, it just creates an environment that seems more real. And we have a lot more to talk about. You know, when we're talking about the way the suns move in Xandar and the three suns, and that's where the three lights, the oculights on the Nova Corps come from. That That is their sons. That's their symbol. That's what sets them apart. All those things are very important to these cultures and to where they came from and where they're going.
It was kind of daunting, to be honest. It took us a while because the color palette that James is using is pretty extreme. We got vivid colors. To turn them into humanoid aliens and so forth is quite difficult. It took a lot of testing to get the right tones and to make it believable.
It was challenging because we were trying to find the right green for Gamora that wouldn't put people off, but was also vibrant and kind of youthful, and it would engage people but without losing the element that she is an alien. She's not a Terran. I was very inquisitive about the fact that I would have to go through 4 to 5 hours of makeup every morning because I'd never had that experience. I always like to do new things.
The stuff that they can do now with makeup is just amazing. My makeup's pretty dramatic, but it's just so cool. I mean, when we first started, it was about 4.5 hour application. The bad thing about it is I can't sit while we're doing it. Sometimes I have a little perch and I lean on it. They have these 2 sticks that they have, and they have tennis balls on top of them, and that's what I grab and perch my arms up on.
Drax, he's tattooed from head to toe. He has a gray base to him, and his tattoos are kind of red. Now, we went for keloid scarring, which is a kind of a technique used in tattooing your own skin. And it's actually raised, so it's a few mil above the surface of your skin layer. And in 3D, when you see that come towards you, it's really quite vibrant and quite interesting, because it's very, very different. We took a full body cast. We then went into molding it, and then we went into sculpting all the pieces, breaking them down individually, and creating the makeup itself. It took a while because there's stories to be told in the keloid scarring, so we had to kind of get James around, and he would look at it, and we'd change the angle where things are going to be, what the story has to say, making sure that it said the right thing. And then when we finished it and put it on David himself, it looked terrific.
That's part of what we're doing here. The makeup is a big, major part of the film. The makeup itself is maybe 5 or 6 layers of different combinations of colors, and it takes probably all total 3 hours, 3.5 hours maybe. The textures and just the depth, it's real. It looks absolutely like this is real skin.
That's the thing. I mean, you just can't argue with the finished product because it looks so good. It's like, it's just totally worth it.
So today we are in the Kiln. This is the outer space prison system filled with corrupt guards, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, before they're the Guardians of the Galaxy, are sent here to do time. And we're shooting one big, massive shot that goes all the way up and follows our characters and goes around the whole prison. And it's the biggest shot of my life, quite frankly, and it should be a lot of fun.
And this set is intense. You could really house like 160 prisoners here, and I've never seen anything like this.
This is one of our larger sets in the film. The set comprises of 3 different levels. You'll see a lot of blue screen up here, so actually in the wide shots we'll extend the set up maybe another couple of 100 feet. Slightly unusual because of its structure. We had to basically build the whole thing out of steel, but that sort of, I hope, gives it a reality as well.
For the Kiln, we've looked at a lot of these different prisons all around the world and how they act and what they're like and how they're different from prisons in Britain or the US. To be able to sort of intermingle like those different looks and create our own look, I think was very important from the beginning.
The Kiln was very much a grungy, dirty, toxic land. So anything we produced for that had the grimy feel to it.
It's dark and dank, and you can almost smell how nasty it is when you're there. It's a rough place to be. This is like the delousing process, I think. This is what you have to do when you go to prison. It's not good. Don't break the law.
We work really closely with James on this, as we do, with all of the sets, and also with Previs. Previs then takes our model and starts to actually build the action sequence within that. Then James would come in and say, okay, well, I definitely need this gantry at this height for this particular sequence. I need that cell there. Obviously, the tower itself was a very specific thing. So, you know, even the little junction box that Groot gets to, that had to be at a particular height because we're always working with a virtual character. So we need to know exactly where that little box needs to be because he grows to a certain height. So we're always working within a quasi sort of virtual real space.
Here's the thing. It's a lot easier to do spaceships flying and crashing into each other than it is to have a bunch of aliens that aren't there walking and talking and having a conversation, especially if they're not walking in a complete straight line. It's the most complicated scene we've shot.
It is a little weird sometimes, you know, just kind of looking into nothing. It's just like one point and you're looking at and you're supposed to be acting and talking to. I have to say that Sean Gunn, who's playing Rocket here in the movie as we're filming, has made it super easy.
This one here is our booty. He grabs the gun, right? Yep. Looks up there, sees the opportunity. These guys know what they're doing. Creepy little beasts.
Creepy little beast!
Throws him the gun swirls through the air in slow motion. Rocket grabs it, boom. Oh yeah, and then he begins to circle around and shoot all of the robots with his machine gun because that raccoon is good with firepower.
I think that Charlie Wood and I, from the first time we sat down and we talked, we understood, you know, exactly where each other were coming from and what this movie was capable of being. And I think we've been able to achieve that.
We just wanted to sort of create something which wasn't just necessarily a default position of just being dark and dismal. We wanted to sort of give this space some character because it's full of so many characters.
It's kind of relaxing, actually. It's not bad.
Nowhere, to me, was one of the most fun locations to deal with. One of the whole central thrusts of Guardians is that we have these 5 characters who are mortal at play in the fields of gods. And when we come upon the giant head of the Celestial, we realize that there are gigantic players in this cosmic field. And it is really based in the Celestials of Marvel Comics.
These carriers can use the stone to mow down entire civilizations like wheat in a field.
The Collector has been collecting for a long time, species of all manners, antiques, everything. He's kind of like Noah from Noah's Ark. He believes that there's going to be a big catastrophe in the galaxy and the whole universe. And he's collecting all these creatures to preserve them somehow. So there's an element of altruism, but his ways of collecting might not be the best ways.
My favorite Easter egg of all is when you first walk into the Collector's Museum and we push in on Benicio as he turns towards us with those ridiculous glasses. Overhead, you'll see Howard the Duck in a tiny little glass box. But there's all sorts of fun things in there, from Cosmo the dog, obviously, who's a guardian in the comic books, to a frost giant, to my slugs from Slither, dark elves, and all sorts of different characters. It's cool to have those references there for comic book fans to sort of track down and find. I took a lot of time planning out the third act, I took a lot of time shooting the third act, and I took a lot of time editing the third act. It was an arduous process, but I think in the end worthwhile.
The final battle is pretty much a smorgasbord of everything and more. Everything is there. Everybody has to have a moment to shine. And also, you have to believe they're not going to make it.
The universe is a very dangerous place. It's a very wild place full of conflict. And Ronan the Accuser, he's a strong force in that. He's a bad, bad guy. And all of that force and brutality is an engine towards very destructive end. That's what he's trying to bring about in this movie, is the end of days, when all the weak sink to the bottom and perish, and all the strong rise to the top and flourish.
Xandar! You stand accused.
We have this aerial fight that needs to happen with necrocrafters and hogs and the Milano and jets and the Dark Aster, which is a gigantic piece out there in the sky. Just about everything that we did had to be touched by the visual effects team.
My spaceship, it was like heavy cement and metal. It's massive. They say it's the size of the Empire State Building turned over on its side 11 times. I love the design of my ship. I think it's awesome.
The journey was, well, if we can't take it down by blowing it up with one thing, what could be the thing that these Nova jets could do? So they created an energy field.
The Nova net is something that I drew as shots before I wrote it as words. And I thought of what that visually would be and how those things would link up together and how we could give the Nova Corps some awesome power that would be unique and different from things that we had seen before.
This is the moment where it all starts going down.
How you doing? I'm Chris Pratt here on the set of Guardians of the Galaxy. Behind me, the Xandar crash site.
There's fire back there, but don't worry, we've got firemen here, which has been a real treat for all the ladies. It's super intense and dirty and smoky, and everybody is having a blast. We're doing what appears to be an epic dance battle, your standard action dance-off.
Let's do a dance-off!
In the end, we decide to essentially sacrifice ourselves for the greater good of other people. That's really the journey of the group.
You're mortal! How?
Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I've started to build into this universe, and that was something that excited me about creating these characters in the first place, and that we can get to know all of these characters more, and to not be, frankly, tied to this superhero concept, because at the heart of this story is not a superhero story. We aren't a superhero story at all. We're a space epic. I have some really great ideas about where these characters are going to go. I'm walking out of this interview and walking over to Kevin Feige's office to tell him what I want to do with the sequel. I'm excited to deal with Rocket and Groot and Drax and Gamora and Quill again.
If there is no jeopardy, then there's no emotional connection to it. And the fact is that Groot does sacrifice himself for his friends in this ultimate way of saying we are family.
I thought there was something interesting about that. I thought that this character has the potential to touch people in a way, to reach people in a way that none of the other characters I've ever played before have.
No, Groot! You can't. You'll die.
Which is, for me, is one of the most emotional places in the entire film.
We are Groot.
It's beautiful, it's sad, and it's an ending of that character, or so you believe.
Well, there's two Baby Groots. There's the first Baby Groot, which is basically a stick with a face. I actually love that Baby Groot. And then there's the later Baby Groot, which is a little bit more cute. By the time we designed Baby Groot, we had already shot the movie. I mean, that scene was in the script of Baby Groot dancing, but we hadn't designed Baby Groot, and it was after we had come back from London. By that time, our design team knew exactly the kind of thing I was looking for, and I described it pretty well, and it didn't go through too many iterations before we got to the Baby Groot that's on screen.
It feels like the audience is going to be with Groot for a long time. What is cooler than that?
Groot! We're gonna be rich!
This is the kind of Marvel movie I'd like to see because it's absolutely fresh. There's nothing like it.
Groot is one of the strangest characters Marvel has ever attempted to put on film.
I've had a lot of folks try to kill me over the years. I ain't about to be brought down by a tree and a talking raccoon. Oh!
What's a raccoon?
What's a raccoon? It's what you are, stupid.
Rocket and Groot are both such important characters and essential parts of the ensemble.
Oh, yeah.
One of the challenges was to have 2 of the 5 main characters be completely CG. So we have Rocket Raccoon.
Ain't no thing like me except me.
And Groot. And hopefully, after you see the film, you never feel like they were not there when we shot it.
Let's make something clear. This one here's our booty.
Chris Pratt, I think, is 6'2". And then you have Groot, who's about 7'5". It's like a huge difference in scale.
Over here, over here! The animal's in control!
We had people on set for both Rocket and Groot. We had a fellow by the name of Christian who played Groot, a Polish mime, a great guy, and then my brother Sean who played Rocket. And honestly, Sean was as important a member of the team as anybody else in this movie. And he created the character of Rocket. A lot of times he had this green bodysuit with just his face, you know, sticking out of it, and he would crawl around like a crab so that he's the height of Rocket. We had a little person on set also, Artie Shaw, who's a wonderful woman, but Sean would be shorter than her when he was crawling around, so he's able to get to the actual height of Rocket, whereas Artie had this Rocket t-shirt, basically, with Rocket's face where her chest is.
That's the first thing you said that wasn't batshit crazy!
Because Rocket is only 4 feet tall, it was incredibly important to have something that was a good cue for camera, good cue for performance, good cue for eye lines, and that when we put our CG Rocket, that it was seamless.
I live for the simple things, like how much this is gonna hurt.
Bradley came in and added to that character and created another aspect of that character.
And anything he was doing, it was videotaped as well, and it was used consistently for reference, whether it's the facial gestures, sometimes the hands.
You just want to laugh at me like everyone else! Rocket, you're drunk, all right? No one's laughing at you.
The way it works is we kind of get in the groove and you sort of feel out what Rocket is like, and then it just starts to happen and you kind of zone into this Rocket world.
And then the visual effects artists come in, and they take what Bradley did and what Sean did, and then create something additional to that. And so, really, the character of Rocket is created by many, many people. And that's one of the things I think that makes him seem so real to us, is because he does have this life of his own, and we're all sort of serving that.
I have a plan. You've got a plan. Yes. That's a fake laugh. It's real!
James loves raccoons. I mean, for the London premiere, he showed up with a raccoon on his shoulder, a real one.
There's a raccoon by the name of Oreo who became my pal in London, and I'd hang out with him all the time. The cast would meet Oreo, the visual effects artists would all study Oreo, and Oreo was the basis for a lot of what Rocket is.
I recognize this animal. We'd roast him over a flame pit as children. Her flesh was quite delicious.
Not helping!
Our animators use everything that we can give them and more.
Very, very fluid, you know, so...
James Gunn also was really, really handy, and like he will just act it out for them. We'll put it on video or in CineSyncs, and we will show it to the animators directly. All of those little bits do help in how we end up with, hopefully, a picture that you don't ever question, was it done or was it not done in CG?
If I weren't so comfy right now, I'd get up, punch him in his smug, dumb head.
It's not just the sound we're taking your upper lip, we're taking what your cheek is doing, we're taking what your eyelid is doing. You take great amounts of time in looking at every detail of every performance. That's when you hope you capture the soul of the character.
Oh, what the hell? I don't got that long a lifespan anyway.
I spent a lot of time dealing with the animalness of Rocket's eyes and a lot of times just dealing with the innocence of Groot's eyes.
The most important thing for James was that Rocket and Groot had as much of a soul as he had envisioned for those characters. He loves Rocket and adores Groot. He was incredibly dedicated to make sure that everything from what was happening with the lower lip of the mouth and what's happening with the eyelids and how does it droop, is the hair too much, too little, to this, to that, the tail, should it be moving? I mean, all of it, every detail. He was like, Rocket and Groot have to be perfect.
Put him in a bag! No! Not her, him!
People often call Groot a tree, and they call him a tree in the movie, and he has certain tree-like qualities, but one of the things for us was that Groot's a plant. And so there's other elements in his body, the way his veins and his musculature works, that's more like a green, soft plant than it is like a tree. So a lot of what makes Groot look like Groot is actually trying to create a plant that could move like a human being. The function is more important than the design element in that respect. So it came from the function of the character. Same thing with Rocket. What if they broke his sternum and stretched it out? Because, you know, a raccoon doesn't really have a chest. So if we were gonna turn a raccoon into a walking, talking raccoon with a gun, you have to break him apart and add metal structure in here, which is what we did to him. So a lot of the look of Rocket and the look of Groot is function, and then form follows that. And once we got the function right, then we started to refine the look of Groot and give him that ability to be both very innocent and very fearsome. And Vin came in and he says 5 words in the movie.
I am Groot!
And his voice filled up that character, and that character suddenly seemed complete.
I am Groot!
I'm really so grateful that so many great creative minds came together to work on a character. All I had to do was breathe the life into him, because just his presence promises some kind of wisdom that if we stick around, we'll get.
What we've been able to do is we've been able to have the utmost quality that time will allow you to have. Time always wins, by the way. We never win. If it was up to us, we'll still be working on at least 100 shots. But you gotta give it up. The world has to have it.
Ha-ha! You can be my wingman anytime. Top Gun?
What is Top Gun?
Oh, yeah.
You're the worst Star-Lord ever.
Bulwark.
Look at its eye. It follows you wherever you go. You can't fool it.
Wait, one more time, what was that? Wait, so, then turn.
Today, power becomes the only law.
Wait, that's not right, is it?
I will put a bounty on him. 40K, but I want him back alive. Alive? That's what I said. I told you when you picked that kid up, you should have delivered him like we had to do. He was cargo, and you going soft on him. You walked us right off the set. Yes, I did. Come on. And I'm going to do it again. No, this time I'm going to hit the same place we did last time.
Ronan is destroying Xandarian outposts across the galaxy. I should think that would call for some slight response from the
Oh!
Sir, the high-end community is
The
high-end... Sir!
You may have celestial blood, but do you have moves like this? Dance off, bro. Me versus you.
It's on. I told you you can't fit.
Okay.
That is the end of principal photography of Guardians of the Galaxy.
What a bunch of a-holes. Transport all four to the kiln to await sentencing.
Denarian Saul. With all due respect, sir.
Your oculite.
What?
It's gone off.
Sorry. There's something loose inside it. It's better if you don't...
Just...
Okay, if we just don't touch it, but... What I was going to say was, the kiln is a barbaric place.
Corman Day, I am fully aware of your concern, but our local cells aren't enough for these prisoners.
Sir.
So for now, the kiln will have to do.
You stuff him in this, and then you run for the ship. I'll shoot anyone who gets in our way. But remember, and this is very important. Crew, what are you doing? Pay attention. It's a bug. So what? What do you care about a bug? This is 40,000 units on the line. Now, what's important is we can't kill him. This guy isn't paying the bounty if he's dead. So... Yeah, you know what? You're not the idiot I am. I'm the one who parted with a tree.
You think I don't know? Sister. You would keep me from advancing. You would have Ronan tell Father only Gamora furthers his great plan. I would keep you alive. Compassion. What would Ronan say to that?
Please, Nebula. You have known me since Thanos took us both from our homes as infants. You have stood beside me in training, in modification, in battle.
I have stood behind you when I am every inch the warrior you are. The screams of my victims fill every field.
It's because you take too long to kill them.
course set for Xander, milady. And might I say, he did an honor to be serving with Ronan's hand herself. My brothers and I look forward to our triumph.
Yes. Though it's a shame about the casualties we're about to incur.
Stand up.
Take her down to the showers. It'll be easier to clean up the blood down there.
What percentage?
I don't know, 12%.
12%?
That's a fake laugh.
It's real!
It's a fake laugh. Quick vote.
Fake laugh.
I'm 80% sure it was a fake laugh.
Groot? That is the most real, authentic, hysterical laugh of my entire life because that is not a plan.
It's barely a concept.
As we enter Age of Ultron, the world is a very, very different place where we meet the Avengers than where we left them at the end of the first one. So we will be shooting on more distant locations than we ever have on any of our other films.
Here we are. It's day one. Principal photography. We're in Italy.
We've tried to go to new locations. So we're shooting in England, we're shooting in New York, we're going to South Korea, going to South Africa.
Welcome to South Africa, Avengers!
We're really going to get to see a flavor of the whole world in this film.
This is a movie that's going to take people on every kind of a journey. It's exponentially more interesting.
The first sequence we started working on when we started working on Avengers 2, we said, what do fans want? What do we want? What do we want to see in the movie? And it was Hulk and Hulkbuster. Part of the fun of this sequence is seeing it finally come to life.
You get so many great animatics and so many great ideas from storyboard artists.
And now here we are on the day, cars flipping, it's totally crazy, and we couldn't be more excited.
Marvel Universe has provided me with this bevy of great characters, and there are other aspects of it that we've never seen before, like Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, her manipulation of objects, and his super speed are not things we've seen in the Marvel Universe.
It's been awesome, and she's just such a badass.
Ultron has been the mainstay villain for the Avengers since I was a kid.
Ultron is unbelievably powerful and unbelievably driven. When you have that combination of traits in a body that you can't kill, that you can't stop, it gets to be very scary.
Mass destruction, check. Superheroes, check. A beautiful location, check.
It's big, it's exciting. This is the stuff big movies are made of.